Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am about to burp. Sam's here. Hey, Sam.
Hello.
Sorry, I didn't want to burp. I don't know what's going on. I do know what's going on with me. I had a big bowl of hot pot. It's too spicy. for breakfast.
Oh, my God.
Every morning,
Wow.
I get up around 4. I cut all the meats. I cut all the veggies. I lay it all out. No, I had it on Saturday, and I have not been the same since.
Oh,
It
it
is-
ran through you.
No, it is. No, it's still
Saturday.
in me. No, it's
After
bad.
3 days.
It's bad.
If it's still in you, got a problem.
I did
You've been
triple.
keeping it too
I
long.
did triple Szechuan, and I got no gallbladder, and it is getting me.
Yeah. But well, at this point in time,
No.
there's nothing 3 days ago
It's
that
still happening.
food-wise it could bother you.
Yo, it's still anyway. Anything to plug before we introduce our guest?
We've got our Tom and Dan cruise coming up next year. If you want to book it or find information, tomanddancruise2024.com.
Tony says that the Tom and Dan 2024 cruise is booking quick. So if you want to get in that first block of rooms that we have, I would say hit the website, fill out the form ASAP because it is limited.
And there's a Side Chicks meetup. I don't know if we mention it now or on the BDM show. Does it matter? Is this Saturday?
It is happening this weekend,
Yeah.
So
It's happening this weekend.
If you're a lady BDM and you're not in the Facebook group, you might want to join so you can, know about all these events that we're doing.
There you go. Yeah, if you know, you know.
Yeah, just email us and we'll let you know how to join the Side Chicks. But yeah, that event is happening on Saturday over on the coast. So we've got a friend of ours who we haven't
missed
talked to
this
in a
guy,
while.
yeah.
And I was just thinking about Chris the other day because I was bitching to my wife that I don't feel that there's like as many movies being produced as
It's almost like there's a strike going on or something.
well, and I know that there was the funnel because of COVID, and then all of a sudden they started coming out, and now there's a strike again. But I figured, I thought in between when things started heating up again that we'd see, in 2022 they were making movies. We'd see it come out now.
You just want more Marvel, right?
I've
Oh,
been to
just
the
something.
movies more this year than I have in a long time.
That's true. I have
Yeah,
too.
me
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I went
So then
once.
what the hell are you talking about?
Well, it just doesn't seem like there's many good movies that I'm like, wow, I want to go see.
Wow.
Like, every
Nothing
couple
impresses
weeks.
you, though.
I
Yeah.
know.
Has there
Chris
been
Crespo's
one?
here.
Yeah, Crespo
Yeah.
from Cinema Crespodiso
What's up,
podcast.
guys?
What's up, man?
How you doing? I went to Fogo de Chao like a week ago, and I haven't been the same since.
Yeah,
I'll
so
tell
this guy
you.
knows. Yeah,
A week,
I went in.
What happened to
I
you?
don't want to know.
I overdid
I
it.
went in hard, man.
Yeah.
With the triple
That's not how
Szechuan.
food works.
It is how food. You don't do any type of crazy foods. You
Yeah, I
eat your,
do.
No, you do
No,
not.
I'm just saying, but
You do not. You don't
it
eat
don't-
like you don't eat like the denizens eat.
it only affects your body for 24 hours.
No,
I mean,
not if
you
you're
know,
weak.
like-
If you're weak, it sticks with you a while.
How good?
Yeah, like anything gastro to me sticks around like some sort of it sticks around like AIDS. It sticks around.
becomes-
hard.
it
It's like,
becomes
it
a
lingers
daily-
with me.
That's not how
It
gastro
lingers
works.
with me, and I have to fight it with a double dose cocktail daily to double dose it to get it to knock down, get the white blood cells back up.
Yeah, I'm doing that lactate Pepto cocktail.
Yes, he knows. I've been doing today. This morning, I had a tiny Ensure and a glass of water because my stomach is done.
Reminds me of that time my pop-up ate a burger
See?
with a knife stuck into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that affected him
Pub burger.
immediately.
They had a pub burger,
We,
greasy Wagyu burger.
everybody in the Claremont hang glider office had to
Clear out,
evacuate.
goddamn, Burl.
How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. There are for sure, it does feel like there are, because of COVID, we were just coming out of COVID and all the production delays of COVID. It feels like there's less movies that there have been in the past, right? But then also now with the strikes happening, there's less movies being announced. Because, on my show, I do news every week, and I'm always saying, this has been announced, that's been announced. They haven't been announcing a lot of stuff, obviously, for the last few months because of the writer's strike and the SAG strike. And there's, no end in sight, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's possible that
these people just want to get a standard wage.
they want to get paid, and they also don't want to.
I-
They also don't want to
I-
give
I
up
don't-
their
I don't
AI
know.
likeness.
I don't know anything
Yeah.
about
What
it.
is it?
A big thing is that the studios want, a proposal they put out is, here's why SAG is on strike, because the studios
Why
are
do
like,
they have to call it SAG?
yeah, it's a terrible name. They
I'm
have.
always gonna laugh.
It is funny. They want to pay an actor for a half day's wage to scan their likeness, their face, their body, get their voice, and then be able to own that likeness and do whatever they want with it in perpetuity forever and ever.
Yeah.
Amen.
And then never have to pay that person.
Oh,
that's
that's
smart.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. It's pretty
I wanna
smart.
do
It's
that.
awesome for studios.
And you know what? It's going to save a
terrible for
lot
artists.
of money for these studios because they're not going to have these people there eating off their dime. They're not going to have any
Right.
porta
You know,
potties
right,
on
sure,
They
site.
just start paying for render time on computers. That's
Yeah.
it.
So
And you can
obviously
do that all in the
actors don't want
background.
that.
It's going to speed up movies. It's going to get more movies out there for us to enjoy.
And they're going to be all so good too, which is the thing. And then it's not just that. There's also residuals. It's getting money from streaming because they used to get residuals from television. If your show or movie played on television, you would get a check as an actor 10 years later because your stupid movie played. Like, oh, look, I got another $100. Streamers don't do that. Netflix doesn't give out residuals. You don't get them for Amazon Prime stuff, streaming stuff. That money is just you get paid once, and then that's it. So if it's something like Stranger Things and it's mega popular and everyone loves it, what's her name? The lead, Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
She's not
Yeah.
getting any extra money or any extra
But
residuals.
that's how you save money. 'Cause we rolled the dice on Millie. She hit it out of the park, and there's the value.
Yeah,
right?
but then she should get paid because she's
we
helping
already
prop
paid
up
her.
Netflix.
We already paid her.
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're
Terrible,
saying. I agree with you 100%.
It's a
but
bummer.
I
It
imagine.
is, and no end in sight, huh?
And they've like
No end.
kind of been doing some of this stuff already.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like I saw an interview with Devin Sawa where
That's
he
the
was
problem.
like, I guess I did not watch all of the Final Destination, so I think like the last one was at 4 or 5. I don't even know.
Who knows?
He was
saw
not
this.
in the movie at all, but I mean he was
Because
right?
they use this
Right.
image or
and
whatever.
they used him from the previous
Mhm.
movies.
Yeah.
And he's like, I never got paid for
I
that.
read that. Yeah, that is.
That's crazy. He should have because
That's insane.
like with the Fast and Furious movies, they include like old shots of Paul Walker from the previous films because then his family gets money and then it goes towards his daughter and the Walker estate. Like they actually want that to happen actively, so that's part of the reason why they include him
Right.
in the film still, even though he's been,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this, but I do know that for years I've heard actors joke around about or talk about how they get residual checks from some show they're in, like 10 years ago, and they'll get a check for $7 in the mail.
I got a check for 4 cents.
Yeah, because Friends is still playing in Chile or something.
There was
Like,
a Seinfeld episode where he was getting all those tiny,
yeah,
tiny
yeah,
checks
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it got big in like Bulgaria or
So
something. like that, or
everybody
special-
would-
Chilean friends.
something like that.
they would talk about this, and every time they talk about it, I would think that seems like a stupid way to do business because you're mailing someone some check for
Yeah.
$7 to a
Well-
millionaire.
Well,
about-
now I mean it's been updated. Now you get direct deposit. You
No, I
can bill
know.
direct deposit
Well, I
at
know.
$7.
Well,
you know.
not even that. I'm just saying, just keeping track of all this
Sure.
seems like a waste. It seems like you should just go into it paying, like there's a gamble involved, like everything. Like the studio should pay. Maybe they overpay a little bit, maybe they underpay, but that's the gamble of it. It's like, here's how much you'll get, one-time fee, and we'll pay you what we think with the, but sometimes it'll hit, and the actor will be out, and sometimes we'll overpay the actor.
That's how
it's kind
I
of like
thought
a
it-
sports star,
yeah,
right?
That's how I thought it was. Yeah, I thought there was that in play, and there were good deals and bad deals. It sounds like this, though, is more defining the future of where they go
Yeah.
because it seems as if they neglected this, right, for so long that now we're staring at it, and it's like, oh, my God. And it's so I would imagine you understand this more than Tom and I do because we absolutely don't. And when you say no end in sight, if you had to sum up one reason why there is no end in sight, why is no one seemingly budging on this? Because it's a very non-adult way to approach things where no one's budging. It's like, guys, we all have a job to do here,
Yeah.
big studio and actors, so do the right
Well,
thing
yeah,
and
big-
talk it out.
I think a lot of people are saying that the biggest problem is on the studio side, the Association of Motion Picture and Television Producers, I think it's the name of the group. It's this group of the studios that have decided we're going to band together for collective bargaining power, and they've been doing this for like 80 years.
Right.
Studios have come and gone. You have to be like nominated or elected or whatever, so it's changed over the years. It's changed since the last time there's been any negotiations, which was 10 years ago. So now, involved in that group, you have Warner Brothers, Disney, Paramount, Sony, your traditional, quote, traditional studios. And then you have Netflix, Apple, and Amazon Prime. And those three companies are in a different business from the studios.
Yeah.
Apple's a tech company. Amazon's a delivery service with a video component.
Yeah, they don't need
that
They
stuff.
don't need if you're selling. I mean, they're saying that the new iPhone that just rolled out is selling better than they even expected it to sell.
Yeah.
Well, they don't need to make more Apple Plus shows.
It's
If
like,
it dies, it dies.
It's like
right?
a legacy prestige thing right now that they're even spending
We're
money on
doing it
Martin
because we
Scorsese
can.
movies.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. And it's like to help their like stock price, their portfolio, not any sort of profit thing. Netflix, they're the only one of those companies that's profitable right now because they've been doing it so long, and they want to remain profitable. So they're in the business of making sure streaming is the thing. The studios have, after the last few years, we now have empirical evidence that streaming is not profitable without a theatrical component. So the studios want to keep theaters and movies alive. Netflix does not want that. They're actively in competition with each other, and then they have to agree on an agreement together what they will accept, and then agree with SAG and the WGA. So it's all really, really murky and messed up.
It seems like the whole movie and streaming industry is going through a transition phase, and it was always done a certain way, and now we're looking at the reality of how people consume content. And of course, this started almost with like a huge push during COVID, where the streaming services went crazy.
Yeah,
and
then the studios were like, well, we can't. People aren't going to the theater, so let's start putting our movies on the streamers, which the streamers obviously love because then it boosts their bottom line. What they thought it would, but it's. What happened with HBO? They put out Wonder Woman 84, December 2021 or whatever, 2020.
Yeah. Nobody remembers that.
I know it's a terrible film.
Yeah.
A lot of people subscribed to HBO to watch that movie, and then within 2-3 months or whatever, when all those free trials ended, all those subscribers left. No one stuck around.
Yeah.
They only signed up for the one.
That was the
movie.
Soprano effect. Same thing we used to do back in the day. You just
once the show is over,
and then you disconnected from your cable service.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was happening with like Game of Thrones too, or whatever, and so I have to imagine that they'll figure it out, because as these companies go longer and longer without putting out content, it's going to start affecting them.
They're
right?
losing an insane amount of money.
And then, so they want to get it figured out. I look at going back to sports because that's really the only thing I do know about. It's like when these players, they hold out for bigger contracts, like that's the business of the negotiations.
Yeah.
Like when Joey Bosa's like, well, I'm not going to play until you pay me. And then they're like, well, we need to win, so we have to figure it out. So it's like they need to put out content, so they have to figure it out. And it doesn't seem like there's a bunch of like other actors they could pull out from other places.
Scab actors, the Scab baseball season they did in the 90s or whatever.
No, people want to see the actors they're used to. And
I do enjoy the drama of people crossing the line. I do enjoy that. I don't know why.
Drew Barrymore.
I have no dog in this fight. I do not care. But I do enjoy. Like, I'd like to see a big budget film made with really poor actors. Like I like the Drew Barrymore thing. That's very funny to me.
It would probably be like a cult classic.
All
right?
the other shows that are following suit because because there were other shows that were coming back too. Y'all just singled out Drew Barrymore, but there were tons of other shows coming back, and she was really vocal about it. Oh, it's a mess.
Well, I could put myself in like Drew Barrymore's shoes in the fact that imagine if
you guys are about the same size.
Well,
I think like even.
Are you gonna sit on the floor and stare into my eyes when you talk to me?
Well, imagine if
it's the lisp, right? Like I can't get past that. I hear it.
If there was some sort of gigantic podcast strike, and then everybody was like, "No one do any podcasts until."
I hope that happens.
Well, our business would fail.
We gotta stand in solidarity.
No. But I would be like, "Well, screw you."
I know.
We're doing podcasts.
I'm trying to put myself in her shoes.
Well, and then it's like we have to, stay in business for our families. Like I can't.
I mean, she could afford to pay her staff. A lot of other people do that.
Yeah,
instead of
the Tonight Show guys, some of them paid their staff, like at least for a certain period of time.
That's what Conan O'Brien did back in the day.
When he was affected by that writer's strike.
Yeah, she definitely could have chosen.
I mean, she's literally been in Hollywood since she was 3 years old. She's got the coin.
You would hope so.
She could have chosen a different path with a less bumpy road. nowadays. I don't think she thought it through.
Yeah, if she's that concerned about the hairdressers, just pay them.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know her finances.
Right, I don't either.
And it's like, you say that, it's like, oh, you're a millionaire. You could pay everybody out of your own pocket. Well, that's not how business works. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, that's the counterpoint of that, too.
The business has to pay.
It's like when Oprah and The Rock they wanted to do that fund for Maui, and everybody's like, you do it. It's like, I understand what you're feeling.
They're trying to raise money.
Right.
It becomes, super complicated. But anyway,
it's a bad mess.
It'll get figured out.
Eventually, it will get figured out.
The market will figure out everything. People will want to make money. People have to make money, and they'll figure out.
And maybe the best way for the log jam to get broke is for the unions to end up negotiating with the studios individually. So only if the AMP, whatever their stupid acronym is,
gotcha.
Only if they break down and decide, well, then screw you, Apple and Amazon and Netflix. You work out your own deals with these unions. And then the other actual studios that want to make movies and TV shows for linear television and for theaters, they can work together with those unions and work out a deal much quicker, because it's really these tech companies that are messing things up, I think.
I feel like this is just causing more and more people to be like, nothing to watch. I'm just going to scroll tiny videos
I do
for hours and hours.
Yeah,
and then people are like, that was just about as good as anything else.
Well, I mean, in a lot of ways,
it's
it's easier to get in and out. I mean, I'd even make an argue for it, right? Like, it's way easier for me to watch a couple of videos to fill a void of dopamine that I need than it is to sit down and watch Batman. It's just not
all 3 hours of the Batman.
It's not as I mean, maybe we are seeing
the great change.
I wonder if anybody's even brought that up and said, like, hey, you realize that the longer you guys bicker here, the longer both sides are devaluing each other. Like, the whole thing is shrinking while they wait.
Yeah, and then
that's an issue. I mean, the whole perception.
It's like major
public perception.
I was telling TC, not to sound like dumb old men that are plugged in and know what's going on in the world, but Tesla has been sort of the leader in electric vehicles. I mean, I think there's no
sure, yeah.
Surprise to anybody. But they're saying with this new automotive strike that the headway that they thought traditional car companies like your Chevys and Fords and everybody else, they thought they were going to be able to overtake them, but if you stay in this strike for the next 4 weeks, maybe all of that great, headway you were making to, maybe take that crown and you'd flush it down the toilet because you waited.
Yeah.
Or you had this strike happen and they devalued the entire thing. I don't know.
We've seen this. I mean, this is not obviously anything like the porn industry, but we've seen.
Hold on, I like this analogy. It's exactly like the porn industry.
Well, you've seen the industries change, music, porn, whatever. Where the internet comes, and then people an industry tries to.
And notoriously, Spotify doesn't pay the artists
right.
crap. They get 3 cents a stream or whatever it is.
And it's never going back. We're not going to go back to the 90s where people made money off their music.
It's peer-to-peer now. If you want to make money in adult videos, you make your own high-quality videos and you sell them to people using your own social media account.
Yeah, direct to market. You don't go through
to browsers anymore. You don't go to Dog
a production company.
You don't need that.
Yeah, and then it's like with streaming and then people consuming content, it has changed. And what's going to be on the other side of this? Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know even with actors and movie stars, it seems like that's transitioning where there used to be 25 years ago, there was 30 movie stars that everybody knew their names.
And you would go see their movie. I'm going to go see the new
Tom
Clint
Cruise,
Eastwood, Tom Cruise.
Whatever then now it seems like that's getting diluted.
All there is Tom Cruise.
Or, yeah. And then when that's done, there's going to be 150 quote unquote stars that are stars for different bubbles of society.
Yeah.
And then everything's getting diluted, right?
Yeah.
The more and more content, the more streaming, the more people are just looking at their phones and looking at reels, the more Mr. Beast and that's the most famous person of my sons.
Well, it's also
Sure,
Mr.
absolutely.
Beast.
Sure.
They made it extremely easy to watch it, right? You watch it anywhere, everywhere, at any time, and it's bite size. I always thought that there was a time when I thought, and I don't think this is going to happen, but there was a time, and you could probably tell me when this, or pinpoint when this really started to happen. There was a time as a young man I thought can you just wait until we're able to watch movies in our house? You just pay a little bit of money, you watch the movie in your house. It's going to revolutionize. It's going to make movies bigger than anything in the world because you're going to get movies in your own house. It didn't work like that. We have movies in our house, right?
Yeah.
We can almost get blockbusters like what, a couple months later, whatever. It just doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal.
But the fact is, the theaters, there are people in the going to theaters,
there
but
are.
only for blockbusters.
Yeah.
Like the mid-range and small movies are
They're
making money
rare.
anymore.
Yeah, they're definitely rare. I mean, there is your occasional Everything Everywhere All at Once, which came out last year and made like 60 million domestically, but that was like a true, like, it had legs that went for a long time. It's a small movie that people were just telling you got to go see this crazy movie, and it made money over a period of months as opposed to weeks, like a blockbuster where something like a Marvel movie will make 90% of its box office in the first 4 weeks of its release, and then after that, or even in the first 4 weeks, but then like Top Gun Maverick was then the anomaly where that made money for like 8 months. But also there was less stuff in theaters last year because we were just coming out of COVID, you know, so that's a weird thing anyway.
Even word of mouth seems to sizzle differently and not as long. Like that movie that's the Black Doctor on the boat and they're taking Dracula to the
the last voyage of the Demeter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I went and saw that.
To say that. I've been wanting
What is it?
The
Black Dracula?
Yeah. That would be
Oh my
Blackula.
God.
No, I think that it's a doctor. It's like this good-looking black doctor.
It's the guy who played
Yes.
Dr. Dre in Straight Outta
Yes,
Compton. Yeah,
that's
Corey
another
Hawkins.
reason to call him the doctor. But he's
Yeah.
on the boat, and he's like, I think him and the crew are in charge of, because there's in the story of Dracula, I guess the actual story,
Yeah.
he went from what?
From
Romania?
from Romania to England.
Yeah, so and this is and that creature had to be on the boat, and it's a horror movie about being on the boat, and I think it sounds fantastic.
It
Spooky movie
It
season.
sounds
Let's do
super
it.
scary, right?
It's a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I for sure, when I sat down to see it, wanted it to be better. But I would still, like, if you're looking for a Dracula on a boat movie, I mean, you really can't go wrong with that one. It's based on one chapter of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is the captain's log of how the ship like ended up in England and how Dracula, how he gets from one point to the other, and they just turned a whole movie out of that one chapter. And
do you
fun.
stay and fight the Dracula, or do you jump in the water and fight the sharks?
Fight the Kraken.
I think I'd get off the boat, right? I think I'd have to get off the boat.
I'd definitely get off that boat.
So, Chris.
Or try to throw, but he can fly. See, that's the thing. You can't throw him into the water.
And that movie made a little bit of money, but I think that one also didn't do well. But then here's the thing. So that movie will still do better because you know about it, because it was going to play in theaters and you saw marketing for it. And even though you didn't go see it, now it's in your head. And when it eventually does come across on streaming, you might click on it because you're aware of it. As opposed to if that movie just came out on Netflix, you know, amongst the other 100 movies that came out that week.
Okay, I got
Then it gets lost in the shuffle and then it becomes worthless to them. So that's why theatrical is the way to go.
Interesting.
So, Chris, give us a couple movies that are out now that you'd recommend, and then let's go into, like, we're heading into October, obviously, and the scary movies, and people want to know about those. So,
well, I did just see a fun movie this past weekend. I saw it at the Enzian, but it's also at, like, Regals and AMC's. It's called Bottoms. It's an R-rated comedy about these lesbian high school girls who start a fight club so they can get laid.
All right.
Yes, this sounds awesome.
It is
So
a great time.
Young girl lesbian fight club.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, it's co-written by this girl, Rachel. I don't know how to say her last name. Sanat. She was in this movie, Bodies, 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 and Shiva Baby. She's a really good young actress. And Ayo Edebiri she's from The Bear. And also she was the voice of April O'Neil in that Turtles movie. That I know you guys saw.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that's a fun movie.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
Man, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, I could have used about 20 more minutes of that.
I definitely enjoyed that one.
And Ice Cube,
he's doing lyrics to his own songs.
But the only, and I
so
said
funny.
this, and I don't want to take any heat for this, the only thing that would have made it a little bit better is if Superfly had used the N-word.
It would have
like been more authentic.
The R-rated version of that movie. He would have done that.
And
It would have
just
been
let
very
it go.
funny.
Put it on HBO Max and just let Ice Cube be his authentic.
Let him fly.
Let him be real Ice Cube. put the X hat on Superfly. Like, let him
That'd be funny.
It feels like he wanted to
Yeah,
say
he
it.
could feel it. You really could feel
Maybe
it.
he did
was
it and they
holding
cut
it
it out
back.
in the edit.
I would be willing to bet that somewhere on the editing floor there's something like that because it just sounded so natural and great. But
Yeah.
anyway, this is great.
Yeah, but so this Bottoms movie is a lot of fun. Hour and a half comedy. There's also, that's a thing, hard to get a good comedy in theaters now. Comedies seem to be a big victim of like the trend of the last few years of only going to see blockbusters and only going to see
Like
Marvel
action
movies.
movies,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
there's no money in it. They're gonna
Right, unless, you get lucky, like, I mean, this is an old example now, but The Hangover, you get lucky with that. They didn't expect that to be a big hit, and then it was gigantic, so big they made 2 more.
You don't
I mean,
get
The Hangover was more than 10 years ago, right?
Oh, man,
Oh,
15
yeah.
20
years
years
ago,
ago,
maybe?
like-
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So times have changed. Like
Times
you're-
have changed.
Like,
Absolutely.
15 years. I remember when 15 years used to be a long time. Now it doesn't seem like long.
I feel like comedy though, like
doesn't
I
seem
don't.
like it was the whole world should change.
No,
but
I
it
know.
has.
But I don't feel like I kind of go back to your analogy of like how people are like eating their entertainment, right? How are you digesting it?
Mm-hmm.
And so many people, when you watch something light, when you watch something of some levity, you're watching TikTok, you're watching Instagram. Like, I don't like. Are there any big comedies planned with big name
No.
stars?
Not
I
big-
mean, like, I don't think they're doing that,
Not,
right?
not
Like-
unless.
Are we considering Barbie in this? I mean, it technically was a comedy.
yeah.
It was
Yeah,
a
it
comedy.
had big
It was a
names.
satire.
Not an adult
satirical-
comedy. I mean, like you're something
But
about
Barbie's
Mary.
a
That
franchise.
ship's sailed, right? There's something about Mary, Hangover.
like a National Lampoon branded
Yeah.
movie. Spoof movies. Where did spoof movies go?
Yeah,
what was the
they're
last
done.
one? Black Dynamite. That was over 10 years ago
So
already.
people aren't gonna. I mean, obviously, studios are not going to invest in this. They're going to want to invest in something sci-fi or something superhero.
Unless Kristen Wiig all of a sudden shows up with her Bridesmaids 2 script, then they might do that. But because it's based on something that was already popular and a hit
Yeah,
in the
but that's been
past,
20
it's not
years ago.
new. That's what I'm saying. That's how
Yes.
studios
Yeah.
think, unfortunately.
So it's just market size. Like if comedies don't translate to India, to China, to other countries that have billions of people.
Yeah, just
and-
like their comedies wouldn't necessarily translate over here, but their action movies would. Everyone enjoyed RRR.
Yeah, you know the Goblin is the villain,
Yeah.
and the guy in the suit, the iron suit, is the hero,
Yeah.
and you could put subtitles because his iron mouth isn't even moving. You can put
Doesn't-
whatever
it doesn't
language
even
you want,
matter. Yeah.
and it's like the world understands that. And then even if you capture 5% of 2 billion people in a different country, you're talking such a huge amount of money you're leaving on the table if you just produce like America only movies.
They also
that-
do something extra clever when they release it, and like certain people have done it. Well, they'll get somebody in that native nation. They'll find a familiar superstar and undercut him to do the VO.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you have a familiar person in your
Voice,
language
yeah.
saying the thing, and you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
So
a cash cow.
Like, and that doesn't seem like there's any way to change that. It's like if you can produce a movie that's global, the difference in the amount of people paying for it is so significant that how can you produce America-only movies anymore? And
other
you'd have to the government would have to subsidize it.
And other
or give
countries,
you an
well,
incentive.
China subsidized it. Other
Yeah.
countries are doing this because there's the concept of soft power, right? South Korea is a great example of this, where they're not a great military country. Their economy is whatever, but they have been exporting pop music, TV shows, movies throughout the world for the last 20, 25 years, and now we're all much more familiar with South Korean culture, and it's more prevalent in our lives here, like in America. We actually think about them. That's what we've been doing for 60, 70 years as a country. Our entertainment's been exported around the world.
In marketing.
Yeah, so China's been trying to do that. They've been dumping tons of money into the whole film production in China is like fully under their government, under their propaganda division. They have a China film group that runs everything. They determine what gets played in theaters, what foreign films get played in Chinese theaters, and they've been trying so hard for 5-6 years now to make a blockbuster that would play around the world. And it will just be like a sci-fi movie, an action movie or whatever, but it'll be fully Chinese produced with Chinese stars, and that's just, the idea of showing their culture is just as prevalent as Western culture, Western civilization.
I feel like the Chinese government is too serious
Yeah.
to ever,
Yeah.
to
It doesn't
ever
seem
know
like a
what's
Chinese
gonna-
government jackass. I'd watch it.
Right?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
all their movies are like action movies. They tried to make a Top Gun, their own version of Top Gun Maverick, where they like just straight up ripped them off. We're making our own like Chinese
It's
aviation.
called Top Ramen. I'm sorry.
Wow, very good.
Not allowed to say that.
And something happened with that where it didn't even come out. Like it was made, and then it was so
Chris
bad
said that. I didn't say
reportedly.
that. That's a Crespodiso.
Yeah,
What's the show again?
Crespo-
I can't even say it.
Patreon.com/Crespodiso. They tried to make a Top Gun ripoff, and it was so bad they didn't put it out in theaters, but they always like $60 million, something like that. It's crazy what they're.
I
doing
do
over
like.
there.
I do love a good like. Let's make this movie about how good our country is.
Yeah.
I like the Maverick thing because everybody I know that watched that movie came up to me and said, "You know what? I watched that movie and I was ready for July 4th. I
Yes.
wanted a hot dog. I was like rooting for like boo."
It helps to not have like an
Boo,
actual
Iran.
bad guy in that. There's no.
It was Iran, right?
No, they don't name the
but
country.
it's Iran, right?
It can't because it's a mountainous.
Come
It's a target is a mountainous
Iran.
area, but it's right next to
Cold.
a coast.
That's Iran. Cold.
There's literally no place in the world. People have already done articles about this. It's what they describe in the movie. There's no place in the world that fits that geographically.
But if it's no place in the world and we're Americans, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, exactly.
We're
No,
the best.
That's true. That's 100% true.
So, Chris, what are some movies coming up that you're excited about?
I'm looking forward to this Exorcist movie that's coming out.
Ooh, is it going to be man? That's still my number one.
I
That
hope-
is still my number one.
That's
Scares the
such a
bejesus out of
high
me movie.
bar for horror films.
I
The Exorcist.
rewatched it because Andrea and Maisie were at a dance thing, and it was on uncensored, like uncut, on one of it because I still got cable. And I watched The Exorcist again, and that goes. It still scares me, dude.
That movie goes hard.
It's still very. There's stuff you should not see in that movie. Like that is like
Oh, yeah.
no,
I'm
that's
surprised
bad.
that, in the 70s,
Yeah.
they got
And
away with the
because it's-
crucifix thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because of the 70s, if you go back and watch that, because it was made in the 70s, it's way worse to me.
Because
looks-
it
looks
feels like they believe it more. Like it feels realer.
It
Yeah,
feels
it
like
does
you're
feel more
looking
real.
through
Yeah.
a window, and then they're doing like you feels like you're sort of there because it. I don't know how to even describe what I'm saying. There's
Well, it helps that there's no digital artifice. Our eyes can tell when something digital's happening, but if it's a good practical effect, you're just like, how did they pull that
There's
off?
a detachment from the new films. Like you're
Yeah.
not as.
So I'm interested in seeing how they pull off these new ones. They're making a whole trilogy. I also think that's a problem when you're like, we're making 3. Like, no, just make
Yeah,
1 and make that
agreed.
one good. But they're like, no, we're making 3.
That usually means that they just want to grab the money, right? It's like we have a good story that we can
Typically.
squeeze into one.
Yeah, typically, right?
But also the brand, like just what they've seen. I guarantee you, the Barbie movie phenomenon is going to. We're going to start seeing them bring up other brands.
It's
that
Mr.
Have,
Potato
Oh, that's
Head.
already
Yeah.
been happening.
Yeah.
The Blackberry movie.
The Bratz movie is going to be coming.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
that.
The Penny? What's the one? There's another Polly Pocket. They were
doing a Polly
they were
Pocket
they were
movie?
already working on
Wow.
a Polly
Maisie
Pocket
loves
movie,
Polly Pocket.
and then Barbie blew up, and now that Polly Pocket movie was being fast tracked pre-strike with
You know what I
Lena
want?
Dunham.
You know what I want? I
Wow.
want a
Yeah.
old school Teddy Ruxpin movie.
But that would have to be like a Child's Play style horror film, though. That has to be scary.
No,
It has to be
he's
scary.
good. He's good. And don't make it like Ted. Don't make the bear smoking weed and talking to dildos.
No,
and stuff.
either it has to be G-rated. I love reading books, or R-rated. I'm gonna slash you to death with my little bare hands. There's no in
Raise
the
your
middle
hand
there.
in here if you bought the movie Ted on DVD. I would judge you so hard if you
Okay,
did.
no, I
And
didn't, no.
if you're listening
I
to this
don't
right
have-
now and you own a copy of Ted on DVD or Blu-ray, throw it in the trash and judge yourself real hard.
I don't think I've ever bought a DVD in my life.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, you did. You bought one for your wife for Christmas.
Oh, what? Oh, I bought her That 70s Show.
Uh-oh, that didn't age
What?
well.
Oh boy! Of all things to buy. Oh
Don't
no!
look at the rapist.
Which one?
Yeah, everybody else I think is good.
Everybody.
Oh, they're all
Everybody but Topher, apparently.
So
What other movies?
yeah.
Man, they have the Five Night at Freddy's. Speaking of
Hey.
killer bear movies,
Good pivot.
yeah, that one's coming at the very end of October. That looks like it's fun. It's gonna be what's this guy? The kid from Hutchinson, the one from the Hunger Games.
Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah, there you go. It's him.
PETA.
PETA, yeah, PETA. PETA's a security
That's all I
guard at
recall.
this Chuck E. Cheese type place, and it's like a rundown place, and he brings this kid with him, and then the kid disappears. That's because the animatronics, the rundown animatronics, are haunted. It's based on
sounds great.
it's based on a video game. Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun. It looks pretty cool. Good spooky time
right.
movie for sure.
And
Yeah,
that's
that
coming
one-
out in October.
Yeah, like right around Halloween.
Okay.
And those games were like little boys love those Five Nights at Freddy games. Like I'll tell you right right now. Mike Aiello's boy, Caden, loved that game. Like, absolutely, like, played every incarnation
Yeah,
of
I feel
it.
like they were really popular for a minute
Super
there.
popular,
Yeah.
and I think they're, like, sort of harmless fun.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're not, like, they don't go too far.
Yeah, I
so-
think they're kind of designed for kids.
Yeah,
really.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, there's
But it's
an-
a scary, scary
I
game.
mean, you know, May's getting into that. She's found this YouTube channel that she likes, and they're all ghost stories.
Oh.
And she is straight addicted to it every
That's
afternoon.
how it starts.
Maybe you should show her Skinamarink.
No.
I'm sorry, sir. That sounded horrible.
I was gonna say, yeah, they're
Maybe
bringing
you
back.
should show her your Skinamarink.
They are bringing back the Goosebumps show.
Yeah,
on
she'd
Disney
be into
Plus.
that.
Oh, that's fun.
With
She'd
Justin
be into
Long.
that.
There's
But-
the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie, which
Yeah.
is like supposed to be for, it's kind of a PG version of like
Yeah.
a scary horror. I think it's PG.
She
for
is
scary.
a dumb old lady though because of the cable versus Spectrum. You know, you had like Disney versus Spectrum, ESPN versus Spectrum. They're fighting, you know,
Yeah.
to get their contract and everything. And then Disney, I guess, came back, but then they dumped a bunch of channels, and one of them was her channel. Like Disney XD that has
Oh,
like
yeah.
older kid stuff on it, and
Yeah.
she doesn't get it anymore. She always goes there with the remote and then yells at the TV like an old lady. She's like, ah!
Yeah, it's gone. All that stuff you got to go to Hulu now for all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Freeform also got dropped, which was kind of a big channel for them
What?
to not carry anymore.
Yeah, it's weird that
Yeah.
they got rid
The
of
deal that they got is crazy.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. That sounds great.
The probably biggest movie of October is going to be the Taylor Swift concert movie.
Oh,
that's
I'm
coming
going
out
to
in a
that.
couple weeks. I might be going too.
I got
actually.
tickets to that. Andrea got me tickets because May's whole dance troupe is going.
Wow, there you go.
Man,
And
that lady is making
That-
all the money.
Yeah.
That's gonna make so much money.
I'm
Is
a
she dating
chaperone.
Travis Kelce?
No,
Oh.
it's a troll thing.
I don't know.
I
Oh.
hate that everybody's believing this.
Oh, okay.
Like,
It's
As
not
my
just you.
wife
It's
told
not
me.
just you though.
Well,
and
I
they're
d-
making jokes on like the games now too. I guess when I didn't watch the game, but I guess when he was playing, they would drop her lyrics like in the commentating. I didn't watch it though. Like
Oh,
he's
that's
shaking
funny.
it off, and you know.
But
Tim, he's the
blank
problem.
space.
Travis Kelce.
yeah, I like that. That's funny.
He's the
That's
villain.
funny.
he
I could see them working out. She's a big guy.
Didn't
She's
they-
a tall lady. I mean, it's good. It's good.
didn't they fly into Jacksonville recently or something like that? That's what Crystal told me. She's probably looking at the internet and getting tricked by it.
Yeah, I don't
old
know.
lady, but she's like Travis Kelce flew into Jacksonville with Taylor Swift. They are dating. I have
I don't
no
know.
idea.
I don't.
She tells me like I care what.
Right.
Sure, like you're invested.
Well, you
yeah.
should because it could be an edge.
No,
in the gambling
no.
world.
Is she a
Could be
big
distraction.
Swiftie?
That's fair.
No.
Yeah.
Could be a distraction to your.
He
you
made
know.
the joke about wanting to date her openly on the so I think that's where it's coming from. But anyway, although
That was photoshopped. Your wife is looking at a Photoshop picture of them getting off a plane.
yeah, okay.
Chat room just confirmed it,
Dumb
yeah.
old lady.
Wow.
Chat room just
Bro.
confirmed it. Thank you,
Yeah,
Ghost.
That's fine.
Or thank you, J. Cole.
That's crazy. But that's going to be the highest grossing concert film of all time when it comes out, though.
Yeah.
It's going to
Not even
shatter.
close.
It's going to shatter records.
Yeah.
The highest grossing one right now is the Justin Bieber movie that came out like maybe 2011, and it made total worldwide $99 million. Wow. This Taylor Swift movie hasn't even come out yet. It has $65 million in pre-sales for the opening weekend.
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, so that's wild. It's going to
Yeah.
make a ton of
I
money.
pre-bought my tickets.
Mhm.
She's got it. I saw her documentary that came out years ago, whatever. Crystal was watching it, so I watched it. She's got an incredible work ethic, and like
Loves
obsessed with work and like addicted to work, and
Yeah.
that's what happens.
Was never
When
gonna
you-
not be a star.
You mix
Apparently,
you
yeah.
mix a talented person with someone with that work ethic, and now you have $1 billion
She's got a pretty
industry.
solid family, I think, that is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really supportive and not like exploitative. I guess.
Seems like she has a low
Yeah.
tolerance
from what I hear,
for
I don't know. I'm not a
BS.
Swiftie.
Seems like she has a low. I'm not either, but I'm pro. People that are. It doesn't
Yeah,
seem like there's any real reason to hate her or anything. You know?
It's,
I mean,
it's a
like, good for
business.
her.
Well, it's a business machine she's created, and it's insane. Like
It
the
is
amount of
insane.
money she's going to make off the movie. With all, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she's definitely going to do the halftime show at the Super Bowl. Not this year, but eventually, right? And that's going to be.
Although,
like,
does she need to? That only
No,
means if
she
she
doesn't need
wants
to.
to. If it's like a bucket list. Oh, I would love to do the Super
Well,
Bowl.
well, maybe-
Because don't they make them pay for it?
I think they make the artist pay for it.
Yeah, pay
yes.
for the production.
They-
So that's
well,
definitely
they-
like I want to be a big star.
they do a
I think
certain.
it's cool to not do it.
They do a
Yeah, right.
certain amount, and then the artist. It's up to the artist if they want to pay more into it. It's like the
Yeah.
weekend did.
Because well,
You
he's
make it
actually
better.
scaled his down,
Fair.
and like he could only spend so much extra of his own money. They
it's
were saying
it's
Yeah.
just a big marketing push towards it, So it's like
she don't need it.
she doesn't need it now, but like a
Maybe
couple
in
years.
5-7 years from now.
You know,
maybe.
just even a couple years, if it starts to like, all right, you haven't done anything, like you're not on a big tour as popular. Because I'm guessing our next tour is going to be, unless there's a bunch of new hits, maybe less popular than this one, or it continues to go. I don't know how much bigger she can get, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
Does it ebb and flow?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think you can get any bigger than re-releasing all of your albums and then going on tour to celebrate it.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's about as big as I can. I go. Because
how many more albums does she have to remake before she has to start putting out new stuff?
I don't know, but like, see, if you think about that, it is sort of a happy accident. The loyalty that her fans have for her, and the idea that, like, if she doesn't re-record all of those, then there really is no reason to go and celebrate every incarnation of her, right? And because she's done that, people are now going and they're dressed like different eras of like different albums. Like it's like because that happened to her, she created this like, oh yeah, let's get together and celebrate it. And make billions of dollars.
I have nothing really against Taylor Swift, but I do find it a little offensive that she's doing this whole Eras tour, and she's been around for how long? 10 years? You know, an Eras tour is like when Cher goes on tour. She's like, here's my 70s stuff, my 80s stuff, my 90s stuff. Madonna can do an Eras tour. Taylor Swift is just going on. There's no eras. She has like another 40 years left in her career. What's she going to do when she's in her 60s?
I didn't think about that.
I think it's kind of a little.
I see what you're saying.
A little full of it to name it that and to position your career as that when it's such a short time period.
And there's got to be a point where I think it's just human nature. Where, let's say 5 years from now, you have unlimited money, you have generational money, you never can spend it, right? And then it's like these tours have got to be an insane amount of work, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then just that tour mode mixed with the promotional stuff, like, I mean, what is she putting in 100 hours a week of nonstop grind?
Speaking of that, I mean,
and it's like eventually you get to a point where like, do I want to grind this hard for what?
She's gonna want to relax eventually.
How many hundreds of millions can you make at a certain point? You're just like, I want to do something different with my life, or maybe she's addicted to it, and the Bill Belichick of pop star, where she's just
determined to always be number one.
Yeah,
have the Billboard top 10 will be all Taylor Swift singles.
I think that's what Miley Cyrus recently said, is that she'll never tour again. Like, Andrew just told me that in the car. I was like, what? And Andrew's like, yeah, Miley Cyrus said she's never touring again because of the toll it takes on her mentally. She's like, I don't like it. She's like, it's too much. It's too grinding.
That's why a lot of people are doing the Vegas thing, the residency thing.
Yeah. I mean, and then remember the story was about that Bangers tour that she financed the whole thing herself. She had to do and then she was like, you know what? It's not worth it for me. I'll just put out music and do appearances. And
every other TikTok video I see is she's singing in the rain, pouring down.
It looks hard.
And then it
looks hard.
And then it's like, my God,
and
she sings for 3 hours every night.
And speaking of, Belichick was the one that said in the news because he was at that concert where she's singing in the rain, and he's like, she's tough, she's got it. She's a goddamn tough bitch.
Put a football in her hand right now.
Yeah, because Tom's right. It's like you can only do that. She's at the right age to do it, and once you've done it, you can be like, I did that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Speaking of age, you think how old is she? Late 20s?
Probably 27.
33.
Ooh, get long in the
how old?
tooth
33.
33.
So
when you're 35, she can pack it in.
When you're getting close to 40, you're just like, I'm not singing in the rain anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't have $1 billion in the bank. I'm not singing in the rain.
I don't got to do this no more.
No rain for me.
Chris, we've run out of time, but
oh my God, you did this like Drew Barrymore would have done on her show.
I'll keep working.
And I'm one of your writers.
I won't apologize for nothing either. I hate apologizing. So
I don't think you've ever done it.
Well, that's why.
It's
there
coming.
it is. But
Proof.
So let's keep you until tomorrow, and I want to talk about some documentaries because I saw one that I want to mention to everybody that's awesome, and I'm sure you've seen some documentaries recently, and there's some ones coming up, and then we'll talk a little bit more movies on tomorrow's show, but we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Corporate Time.
Got it.
Sorry, I figured we'll...
well, where do you want to put them tomorrow, or do you want EJ to just be one segment?
No, well, we've got tomorrow, Tuesday 4, right?
But it's only 12 minutes.
Yeah, we'll just do it 12.
Okay.
That's 1 and 2.
That is 1 and 2 for tonight.
Thank you.
I just figured we didn't get to go over very much because we talked about the strike and everything.
The strike is like the most prevalent thing that's happening right now, so kind of makes sense to talk about that.
Let me use the restroom real quick, and then we'll come back and Oh, dude, old school van.
We also
Yeah,
need 13 for
My girlfriend
tonight.
got 'em for me.
We need 13 for tonight.
Yeah. Oh no, you said you guys did that already.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Friday, you
Yeah.
did. Yeah. I forgot to make that note.
Pulling on my list of movies that I've seen,
I'm like 1 away from finishing my Crespo Hundo.
That's awesome. I'm still like
And we'll talk about that then.
about 30 away.
Oh, I want to talk about Star Wars too.
Star Wars just in general, or the
Well,
Ahsoka show specifically?
Ashoka?
Ahsoka? Ahsoka? I've only seen the first couple episodes of that, but I can talk about it. Oh, talk to me. It was good. You see that yet, Sam? Talk to me.
I did see that. I actually went to theaters to see that. We
What
liked
is that?
that one a lot. It's
That
a
was
scary
really good.
movie.
Scary movie
Huh.
about
It's Australian, right?
it's Australian, and it's about high school kids, played by a bunch of 20-year-olds, getting high on being possessed by a spirit,
Okay.
and bad things happen. Okay, I have seen a couple documentaries here.
Did you watch? God, let me pull up because I can't remember all of them either.
Yeah, it's part of why I even do the list to begin with.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm like, oh yeah, I did see The Little Mermaid in theaters.
No, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was okay. It's the best parts of that movie, or any songs or things that were from the original,
Yeah.
and then all the stuff that they added stinks.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
just
Yeah.
see the original, Although when I saw it, there was like some families, because it was a matinee sort of. There were families in there, and at the end of Under the Sea, when it and then it right, the big finish.
Right.
There was a little girl, maybe 1.5 years old, at the end with her family, and she went, "Yay!" Like she cheered for it right at the perfect time, and then we were just like, "Oh, okay,
That does make it
that
better.
made the whole thing, that
Yeah,
made the
true.
whole movie worth it, because this little kid is
Yeah,
loving the movie."
it sucked her in, and
Yeah.
she enjoyed. Okay,
was very
that
cute.
is cool.
Oh, did you watch 1BR?
No, I have not.
That's,
Is that a new one?
I think it came out last year.
I have not seen that one.
No, 2019 actually.
Oh, excuse me, no, I have not seen that.
It's interesting.
I'm sure you saw Megan, right?
I did see
That's
Megan.
a fun movie. And then they got the Megan girls running around at
Yeah.
Halloween Horror
I think
Nights.
that's awesome.
Yeah, they're doing the dance.
Super scary and fun.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a bear on the loose around Disney
Nice.
today, and part
a
of
country
Magic
bear.
Kingdom is closed.
It's a country bear.
They closed.
See, that's what they get for
A
releasing
portion
that
of the
country
park
bear
is
shit.
shut down
That's what
near
they
Tom
get.
Sawyer's Island.
That's what they get. Right near Country Bear. It's a country bear.
Kinda.
It's a Friday.
It's a fucking country bear, dude. They just released that they're gonna redo Country Bears, and now Disney's shut down because there's a bear on the loose.
It's a Five Night at
They
Country
should-
Bear
should
situation.
they not-
Protesting.
They should jump all over that, right?
I'm sure that
They gotta
the
do
memes
something
are
with that.
already generating.
Well, first they're gonna go in and blow that bear away. Just
Well, yeah, the last time they had a wild animal on Disney property, it did not work out well.
The alligator.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was so
yeah, that was very bad.
All right.
What a
Oh, there it is.
you got it.
Okay. Mr. Van, would you like to bring us back?
Yes.
Or is this a start?
It'll be a bring back. It'll be a 4.
I'll bring us back then. Here we go. How long do we need here?
Just 12.
12. Okay. Here we go. In 3, 2. Welcome back to A Corporate Time.
Chris Crespo is here. How you doing,
Hey,
Chris?
how's it going, guys? How
Mr.
you doing?
Crespo, thank you for staying here.
Thank you
So,
for having me back.
let's. I want to mention to you about a documentary that I saw that's awesome. So you know the Netflix Untold series that they've been doing these docu-series called Untold. And it's about different, like, I don't know if they're all sports related,
Okay.
but they're just individual, like, hour-and-a-half documentaries.
Interesting story.
Interesting stories. And-
Bite-sized docs.
Yeah. And there's one called Crime and Penalties, right?
Okay.
And I got recommended this from a hockey buddy of ours,
Okay.
Stone, who told me, he's like,
All right.
watch this. So I watched it, and it's great. And it's a documentary about a mobster, basically. And this mobster I guess rumored to be the guy that they based the Tony Soprano character off of.
Okay.
Because he's in waste management and he owns waste. And he's a rich dude,
Okay,
and then he's got like mafia ties. He went to prison, but anyway, he.
Oh, Christine in the chat room says she loved this documentary.
Yeah, and so it's about this mobster guy who buys a minor league hockey team and then gives it to his son as a gift because his son likes hockey.
Wow.
I love
And
when
his-
rich people do
And his
like
son was a 17-year-old Jersey Shore like
Pauly D.
D-bag, like Pauly D.
Fist pumping.
Yeah. But it has kind of a surprise. I won't get into it, but that's essentially what it is. This mobster buys this minor league hockey team and gives it to his son.
And that's
Wow.
the
his-
premise?
And then his son's the owner.
It sounds
And then-
like a Will Ferrell movie.
It does,
almost,
yeah,
right? It
yeah.
sounds like Will Ferrell's
Sounds
the
like
son.
semi-pro too.
yeah.
And then by the way, this guy dresses like Pauly D from like
I
it's
love
like
it.
It's like 99
Because
or-
it's the late 90s. Is it
Oh,
the
actually,
90s?
it's early 2000s, like 2003.
Dude, that's Jersey Shore.
Yeah. And he's
I think
dre-
Jersey Shore was like 05, 06.
And then he's like, "You're the new owner. You do whatever you want." And he's like,
Wow.
"All right." And then he just runs his hockey team. But anyway,
the Dansbury Thrasher or Trashers.
Trashers. Yeah, Dansbury Trashers.
Trashers?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because they call
Because
it.
it's a waste management.
James,
Yeah,
yeah,
James
because the-
Galante was the guy who.
Yeah. The mobster dad was there all the time too, and he kind of like ran it with his son, but his son was the official owner,
Oh, I
so like
love
he would
this.
give the press conferences and
Oh,
like,
my goodness.
like straight up Pauly D, the whole the high hair and stuff, and he didn't like. It's kind of embarrassing because he didn't know what was going on
Yeah.
really.
Well,
and
we
he's
had the
like,
Predators here in town, so we know what it's like.
anyway, but it goes surprisingly better than you think.
Okay,
Anyway.
all right.
So I feel like there's 100 good documentaries out there
It's so
on
easy.
all streaming platforms.
Well, I'll tell you this: the platforms, the streamers, they are actively seeking out docu-series right now. They don't necessarily want a documentary movie. If I tell you, if you go to Netflix and you say, I have an idea for a 2-hour movie about this thing, they'll say, no, thank you. If you say, I have an idea for a 6-hour miniseries about the same thing, they'll say, here's $10 million. Go make
but
the
I don't,
thing.
I gotta tell you,
I hate
as
that.
a viewer,
I
I
hate it.
hate it because I can see the redundancy
Yes.
of your stupid show.
You can see where they're stretching it out to make
Yeah.
it fit the series format,
They
and it's
did
awful.
it the first time I noticed this, they did it with that one documentary where it's the Christian lady with the high hair. Like
Tammy Faye?
No,
No,
it wasn't
what
Tammy
the-
Faye, but she died in that plane crash.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And that was
Yes.
like a 4-part series. It could have been a 1-hour movie.
Agreed.
Most of them can be. It's
Yeah, it's
kind
like
of silly.
stop
Yeah.
doing that, man. Like, and then I can't put it on 1.2 like I can on YouTube. So it like, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's pretty
they
well.
want to stretch it out
Because they want people to
Hey.
stay on their service.
Yeah.
I've
you know,
never
stay-
stretched it out ever.
Even I feel like that telemarketers docu-series
Yeah.
on HBO
Yeah.
probably, you could have done it in 3 episodes or 2. You
Just
probably,
want like 1 hour and a half documentary.
Yeah,
I
the
feel like could have done
McMillions
it.
thing, that could have been just an hour and a half. All sorts of these things get stretched out. I really enjoyed I saw one that is just an hour and a half. The documentary about the HQ trivia app. Do you guys remember that a few years
Yeah,
ago?
that
Yeah.
guy that was the host.
Scott Rogowski.
Didn't he get pissed at the owner or whatever? And he's like, or the owner got pissed at him?
The story is wild in terms of the people that invented it. That one of them was like a tech guy and one was a business guy, and they really didn't get along anyway. So it's a lot of the hubris of them, the hubris of the company getting bigger, and them trying to like figure out, well, let's make this even bigger. What do we change? What do we keep? The arguments between the guy who ran it and the host, because the host was becoming the face of HQ Trivia, and they're like, we don't want that. We don't want this guy to be popular. We want the app to be popular.
Yeah.
And I remember when that thing, when it was popular, like 2018, I think, maybe
I remember
2019.
playing it, man. I remember getting really high up there trying to win the
I was-
prize.
I was
Dude,
so
we were
pumped
in
about it.
Colorado when you were telling me about that. You're like, hey, there's this HQ trivia thing that you're like, oh, it's about to come on. I remember
the live aspect of it made it what worked, I think. I don't have to be, I have my phone in my hand now.
It
It's
was
7 p.m.
fun,
I got to
man.
do it. It was so
Yeah,
much
it
fun. I
was
really
fun.
enjoyed it. But then it fell apart like pretty quickly. And when you watch a documentary, it's actually very surprising to see how sped up the timeline actually is. Because when I'm in it, and and then I had my own drop off of playing the game, just like everyone else apparently, that I had no idea. When you watch it now and see how it all came together, it's a fascinating watch.
Yeah.
It's a CNN Films documentary that is now available on the Max app, the
you
wonderfully
go.
named Max application.
God, I hate the name of that
It's
app.
so stupid.
It's interesting because you have these hot phenomenon that happen like this HQ trivia or like other
Yeah.
things that pop up. And it's so small,
Wordle.
and there's only there's
Yeah.
only a couple people
Yeah.
Real
involved.
hot, real
Yeah.
hot.
That is like they can live and die by a couple decisions, it's like, and then
Yeah.
they just went the wrong way, and they could have gone the right way, and it could have been a long-term thing, or society just wanted it at that period of time, and then they were
It was
over
just
it.
They're done with it. And a new
It's
thing
hard
came
to
along. Yeah.
it's hard to figure out which is it bad decisions or is it just a fade
Yeah.
of like it was just a super hot for a small amount of time, and then people got disinterested and moved on. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I know what ruined it for me. I remember once I heard that the original host, because I liked him,
Mhm. Yeah, I like them too.
and I think everybody kind of liked him. He had a certain.
He was part of the reason of the success
He
of it.
he
Yeah.
was, and once I found out as a viewer that and remember, this is coming from a guy who I exited a company right after whatever,
Oh.
and you were hearing behind the scenes that this host was sort of being mistreated by the company,
Yep.
right? And I was like, well, I can't support that anymore. It was that simple for me. I
And they
was
started
just like,
bringing
oh, I
new
like
and
that
they
guy.
started bringing new hosts and stuff.
Yeah, and I was out. I was like, I'm out. I like the other
Yeah.
guy, and that killed it for me.
That guy now, Scott Rogowski, he's running he owns a not antique, a vintage sports clothing store in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And he also does I guess it's on YouTube. He does streams of opening up baseball cards, like card packs,
Okay.
and
It's a
looking
big
for
deal.
looking for things. Like he's running that wave right now, so he's still out there doing
I
stuff.
saw two little kids. Were you and I watching that? Or
What?
was it me and my wife? Or it was me and my wife. Because I was watching this video of a kid opening a card.
Mhm.
I hate this now, these card pack openings. And this kid opened a card and he turned it around and he's like, oh, what's this? Oh, and then he starts freaking out. And it's a Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, 1-of-1 signed card. And it was such a setup.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is such a setup. Your parents made you do that.
Yeah.
You should be ashamed. I wrote it in the note. You should be ashamed of yourself. I wrote it in there. I got to let that kid know. You tell me I got to shame more people. You should be ashamed of yourself. That's so fake. You're a poor actor.
So, Chris, anything else that we should know about documentary, movie-wise?
TV.
anything
Well,
like
an
that?
interesting one, just to keep it with the HQ trivia thing. It's not a documentary, but it's a good movie. The BlackBerry movie. Have you guys seen that? Called
I
BlackBerry.
haven't seen it.
That one's worth watching. It's about the BlackBerry phone and how that phone started, how it became the biggest thing on the planet, had an 80% market share for smartphones, and then got destroyed by not only their lack of advancement and their stubbornness, but the iPhone debuting. And it's a really, really good, really fun, sort of a comedy, real life failure of a company comedy sort of thing. That one's really good.
The BlackBerry, Daniel, you had a BlackBerry, right? I never had one, but it didn't have, it had a screen, but the buttons were
The little keypad.
It had. I did have a
Manual.
BlackBerry, and I had the big blue one that all the real businessmen had because I thought when I was getting it, I was going to be a businessman. And everything was real businessy. To hook up your email was businessy, and it was
Yeah.
a gray screen. And charging it took 2 hours or something. The thing was humongous. It's like the size of a Whopper sandwich with a little antenna.
and it slid
It was
up
big.
and then had a keyboard under it.
No, the keyboard was on it. It was in a
I think
little.
you're thinking of the sidekick. Or
Yeah,
Oh,
something
I
like
okay.
did
that.
have a sidekick,
Yeah.
but the BlackBerry that I had, and it would have the, it'd have the touch to
two-way.
talk.
The walkie-talkie part.
It had the two-way thing, but I mean,
it's a walkie-talkie.
but the one thing I will say that I did like, and a lot of people said that they liked, is the buttons did feel good.
The clicking of the buttons.
Yeah,
and
they
the
were-
movie goes into how this is important. The clicking of the buttons.
it's very
interesting.
satisfying.
Yeah.
Very satisfying.
and why they didn't want to go to
Yeah.
touchscreen. Because it's we're about the buttons. We can't just have a touch screen.
Okay, I'm going to throw it out there. I'm the type of person where if I turn on the clicks on my phone, I type like a goddamn maestro. If I turn the clicks off, I can't even type my name. But if I turn the clicks on, I can type you a 30-page paper for college.
That's funny.
No problem.
It's a psychological.
Yeah, it is. There's
it got you.
something. It's not satisfying enough. Typing in silence. How does anybody even know if I'm typing?
Yeah, if you type in silence,
How
does
do you
anyone
know
care?
if you're even typing?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
may not even be typing.
Great philosophical question. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll check that one out.
Yeah.
Why did HBO change to just the Max? Well, it's
Easier,
weird.
maybe. Easier to
It's
say.
it's so dumb. It's so dumb. First off,
Why isn't it Why not
Why-
have HBO in like?
there's already a thing called Cinemax. So why would you?
Right.
Why would you name your thing that sounds closer to a rival company or whatever?
And it's like
insane.
you've been HBO and the brand. You've grown the brand through the 80s and 90s. Where
Maybe they've always wanted to get rid of BO.
it used to
There
be.
you go. The
My
BO's
dad
bad.
is a BO. You know, everybody said it. Maybe they waited 50 years. They're like, finally, we're getting rid of BO.
Like
We're just H.
back to like brand power. You spent the 30 years like exposing your brand to all of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it used to be like a marketing thing for hotels to
Free HBO.
Yeah, to
So true.
Market free HBO. So, and then you take that and you're just like, no, we're going to change it to just Max.
Change it to Max, and then
So-
when you pull up Max, the first thing you see is "Fix My Frankenhouse"
But is HBO
HGTV.
still around in any capacity?
Yeah, HBO's still a producer, still a company. They're still producing HBO shows and movies.
It's the name of the company.
It's the name of the company. So then when you go to Max, there's going to be like an HBO. You can click on an HBO hub and then just see HBO stuff. Or you can click on HGTV.
So
or you can click on A&E. You know, it has all the different little hubs they have because
I mean,
now it's all the
We're
consolidation
just going to
of all
call
these
it
companies.
HBO, right?
I think most people still just call it HBO.
Yeah,
like most
it's
people still
like-
say Twitter. It's going to take a while
Most
for people to start
say
saying
the Citrus
X.
Bowl. Sorry, Camping World. I mean, it is what things
Yeah.
are what they are.
It's hard for people to, change when something's embedded like that for so long. I guess eventually people will start saying X.com.
Looks like
Eventually
it
people
was
start just
really-
saying Max.
It was really heavy on Discovery's end. They didn't want to be associated with HBO.
Because there's a big Warner Brothers Discovery
Yes.
merger. Essentially, it kind of feels like Discovery bought Warner Brothers in that way. Because then the CEO of Discovery is the guy who's put in charge, David Zaslav, and he's the guy who's sitting across the table
David
from the
Zaslav.
unions.
What a great name.
Oh, terrible name. He's one of the guys who's gumming up the works here with the strikes that we were talking about yesterday.
Right.
So yeah, it's crazy how like the Discovery thing came along, and now they're like, no, we have to push the Property Brothers. Yeah, everyone knows about the Sopranos, but what about their 8 spin-off shows?
Can I give you a hot take on the Property Brothers?
Please do.
Their pants are too small.
Okay.
I'm serious.
All right.
Anytime you guys see
Like
the Property
tight?
Brothers, no. To high waters. Look
Oh.
at the Property Brothers on any show.
They're showing off ankle.
And guess what? I know I see them more than you guys do because they're always on QVC. Always on QVC and always on my channels. They're always hawking some new spread. They got a new duvet cover. And their pants are always 1 to 2 inches too short. And I laugh and I laugh. You have that much money and you can't buy pants with a break? You can't buy the right size pants?
They have to buy pants specifically to look like
You're
that.
married to
They're paying
Zooey
for that.
Deschanel, for Christ's sake. You would think that she wouldn't let you out of the house looking like that.
Well, Chris, where can people find your podcast?
Patreon.com/Crespodiso. You can sign up there. PFT Media.
This
also
guy's
has
got the
links.
right size pants, I'll tell you that. Chris Crespo has the right. His pants are perfect.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Where can people listen to the podcast?
Oh, I hope you don't know. I hope you don't know.
No, all sorts of places. I just recommend pftmedia.com. Easy place to go to. Or if you go to Patreon, just look for my show. Just Google Crespo under Patreon. I'll pop right up.
Perfect. Well, Chris, we should have you again in a month from now, right when it's going into holiday season, and because I feel like there's going to be a bunch of new releases.
There'll be some big movies coming out for sure.
announced for December.
Any
and stuff.
Christmas stuff.
Definitely,
right?
definitely.
Hey, and you know what? Maybe we can get our buddy on here. Our buddy's making a Christmas movie.
Who? Logan?
Logan.
Oh, really?
It's called Jingle Smells. I can't wait.
I
It
mean,
looks like a wacky holiday, just a mess with wrestlers, and he's flying through a mall, and
Didn't he? Was he with some celebrity
Yeah.
on social media?
he's
Who was
got
it?
yeah.
It was a big star. Like,
he had
or at least
I think he had some wrestlers in his movie, and then he was looking for wrestlers, and then it was him, and
can you make money doing that?
I don't
Where's
think
the
he does.
money?
I think he does it for
Just
fun.
Just for fun?
Look, I know. That's why I want to get him on here. He'll teach us about fun.
All right. We will see you tomorrow.
Awesome. Great job, y'all. Is it lunchtime?
Yeah.
All right, guys. We will be